Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is episode 2 of Yapping and Yarn with me, Zoë-Rose. So for this week's video, I am crocheting as I usually do, and this is just an orange square I'm making up because I'm making a bunch of squares for this little charity project that I'm doing. So that's what I'm going to be working on in this video. And today I'm going to be discussing a topic that I find very interesting. So we're going to be talking today about double standards, and we're going to be kind of like talking about them in a light that I think people don't usually talk about double standards. I think that when we think about a double standard, we often think about someone saying one thing or upholding some rule or expectation for other people and then not fulfilling that themselves. So for instance, an example is like if you have a parent and they're like, staying up really late is bad for you, don't do that. And this is like a general rule that they state. And then this parent always stays up late, like you won't catch them in bed before 2 or 3 a.m. Then that's a double standard. The kid might look at the parent and be like, well, you say that and then you do this, so I'm not really gonna listen. Double standard, hypocrisy, this has different names. But we often think about double standards in the way that we perceive other people. We often think about them in the way of, I want everyone to treat me like this, but I'm not treating other people like that. But I think a really interesting aspect or type of double standard that we see is people holding, expectations, positive expectations on everyone else except themselves. I have some notes up here, so if you see my eyes wandering, that's probably one of the reasons why. I was thinking about this. I think that a sentiment that I've heard a lot by people, especially younger people, which kind of makes sense because anyway, is that, oh, I will never find love. Like everyone else in the world is going to find love except me. And why is that? Why do we think that sometimes we are the exception to the rule? Or for instance, everyone is beautiful except me. Everyone can learn how to do XYZ except me. Everyone is worthy of love and of patience and of, gifts and kindness except me. And we often hold these beliefs about ourselves, and it's kind of strange. I was thinking about it. I even do it. One quick example is that someone wanted to give me this present that was really expensive, and I was like, nah, I don't want to take presents, like expensive presents from people, like that's not my vibe. And then my mom was like, well, would you give people expensive presents? I was like, yeah. She was like, do you think that other people should be able to get expensive presents? And I was like, yeah, 100%. And she was like, so why can't you get one? And I was like, damn, it just doesn't feel right. But why did I have that belief? Why do we have this belief a lot of the time that everyone else deserves something or is worthy of something or is going to have a certain result in their life except us? It almost, in a sense, reminds me of self-consciousness, right? If I'm out and about and all I can think about is how other people are perceiving me, how, oh, I paused too long in that sentence, I maintained eye contact for like a second too long, I didn't laugh enough, oh, am I breathing too loud, like I bumped into this person, are they pissed, like just overthinking every little thing that occurs while you are in a social interaction. It's that kind of self-consciousness, right? And oftentimes this type of self-consciousness is completely uncalled for. It's completely unwarranted, because if you take a step back and you're like, wait, did I even notice how long she paused? Did I notice, if how long they maintained eye contact? Did I even realize that she was breathing loud or blah, 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 or like sweating too much? Like, we don't notice these things about other people, but for some reason we think that for us it matters. It's almost, I don't want to say it's selfishness, because it's not really selfishness. I think it's more of being too inward focused, and I struggle with this. I'm not coming here to be like, oh my gosh, like I'm so much better than everyone, like I don't care. Like, I'm very shy, and I struggle with self-consciousness and being too much in my head and giving too much of a damn about what other people think about me. So this is by no means me being like, those people are terrible. It's just more of an observation. And so I see these exceptions that we make for ourselves like, oh, I will never get this, but everyone else in the world will, as that kind of self-consciousness, because they're both unrealistic and they're not really founded in reality. It's kind of delusional. I'm not gonna lie to you, because what's the definition of delusional? I think it's believing things that couldn't possibly be true. So you think that, you know, everyone in the world is deserving of love, but you're not. What's the likelihood of that being true? If you're just like an average person, if you're like a serial killer, then maybe you have a point. But just as like an average, decent person, and we go around with a lot of these beliefs. And so a lot of these times these beliefs can be really detrimental to us because they can lower our self-esteem. But they can also, I'd like to think of them as limiting beliefs in some ways, because for instance, if let's say I believed, right, I'm going to use crocheting because that's what I'm doing, that, you know, other people have told me that they learned how to crochet off of YouTube, right? So obviously people can learn how to crochet off of YouTube. So, but then I say to myself, you know what, everyone else could probably learn how to crochet off of YouTube because they can, but I can't. I simply cannot. I cannot. And why? Why do you think that everyone else could learn how to do something, but you couldn't learn how to do it? Right? Like, logically, it doesn't make sense. What makes you so special that, like, you couldn't learn how to do it? And so a lot of the time when we have these beliefs about ourselves that are completely untrue and, you know, not really founded in reality, then they limit us. Because let's say that I actually believe this, that I cannot learn how to crochet off of YouTube, only everyone else can, but I can't, then I would have never even learned how to crochet. And this applies across the board. Oh, everyone else could, you know, be able to run a mile if they actually try. I mean, obviously, like, if this is a more general example, but, you know, I could never do that. I simply could not. Like, I'm built different. Like, it's so much harder for me. It's so much more difficult. And a lot of the time we're not saying these things, realizing how, like, low-key self-absorbed, like, I'm like dissing myself, because it sounds self-absorbed to be like, you know, everyone else could do this, but just not me. I'm special. It's like that, like those people who think that they don't have to study for a test to do well, and they're like they're not geniuses, but they just think that, like, it's all gonna work out. It's like, girl, what are you doing? Like, boy, what are you doing? Like, you're not special in the best way possible, because, yeah, in the best way possible, you're not special. You are not special. You are not the exception to the rule. Most of the time, what is more likely to be true, an exception or the rule? Obviously the rule. It's more likely to be true that, you know, you are deserving of love and someone in this world finds you attractive. Because there's some people like, no, you know, even for the ugliest person in the world, someone will think that they look cute, but me? No, not me. Not me. No one ever for me. Like, these are things I have thought at some point in my life. These are things, like, I've heard other people say. And it's like, no. Because why do you have that belief, Zoe? Talking to myself, like, why do you have that belief? Because you think you're special. Like, you think you're special in the worst way. So I'm telling you, in the nicest way possible, right? You're not special. And I think that one thing that can kind of lead to these beliefs, these limiting beliefs, these exceptions that only apply for ourselves, is the way that other people treat us. You know, if we constantly feel like we're a burden to people, if you constantly feel like no one cares about you, but you feel like, you know, everyone else is cared for, everyone else has people that they can rely on, everyone else has, like, a place in the world or a group, and you kind of feel like the odd one out, then you could be more likely to have these beliefs. For instance, if everyone around you has, like, a really big friend group and you're out here with no friends, maybe one friend, two friends, and you could be like, damn, like, I'm the exception. Like, I'm just, like, no one will ever like me ever because, look, like, nothing. And I think that, yes, our experiences inform a lot of these beliefs that we have about ourselves, right? Because who's more likely to feel like no one will ever like them and that they're just, like, a really unlikable horrible person to be around? The person who has like 20 friends, or the person who has like no friends or one friend? Probably the person who has one friend or no friends. But the thing is, those two people could be exactly the same. Maybe they're just in, you know, different, like what's the word, stages in their lives, different circumstances. Maybe the one person just moved, or maybe the other person has had some of those friends since they were literally 6. You don't know what's going on in each of these people's lives that you're comparing yourself to. So I feel like yeah, a lot of these beliefs are actually stemmed in comparison, because you're looking at other people and you're like, they have this, I don't, therefore I'm not worthy of it, or therefore I don't deserve it, or therefore I'm never gonna get it. So I think it comes back to this thing of, you know, comparison is the thief of joy. And the sad thing that I think about a lot of these limiting beliefs, or these exceptions that are simply not true about yourself, is that if I go my whole life thinking that like no one will ever love me, like no one will ever want to be my friends, like I'll never find love, I'm gonna be lonely forever, and I'm gonna die alone at like 90 years old, then I'm creating that reality for myself. As a man thinketh, so he is. Like, if I think long enough that, you know, I'm a horrible person who just repels people and no one likes me, you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna kind of become that person. So I'm gonna be feeding myself these thoughts of, you know what, oh, I'm like horrible, no one wants to be with me. And so then when people actually do come around and I have the opportunity to, whether it be make friends, like form connections, literally anything, but I get an opportunity to prove one of these exceptions that I made about myself wrong. I get an opportunity to prove a limiting belief that I made about myself that's wrong, like, oh, I'll never be an engineer, it's too hard. And then I actually get an opportunity to be an engineer. I've already got it stuck in my head that I can't do it. So why would I see it as an opportunity? Why would I see it as a way to move forward? Why would I see it as, you know, the right course of action? Because I've already got it in my head that that's not going to happen. And that is why the mind is so powerful. That is what, you know, some people have claimed, this is kind of an aside, but some people have claimed that they healed their diseases, their sicknesses, their conditions simply through telling themselves that they were fine. Like, they say these things and, you know, they claim them to be true, and I believe some of them. I think the mind is a very powerful tool. So I think if we're going around telling ourselves like, oh, this will never happen for me, but it'll happen for everyone else, oh, I can never do that, yappa yappa, like that is you. That is who you're becoming, because that is what you're feeding to yourself. So I think not are these exceptions only weird and illogical and delusional a lot of the time, but they also cause us to limit ourselves, hence making these things true, hence making us believe more of these things. If I form this belief about myself, then it's formed, so I do everything to fulfill the belief, then I'm like, okay, that was true, then I get another belief, and like an intrusive thought saying, oh, this will never happen for you, like, oh, last time I thought that, it never happened, and it continues, and it feeds into itself, and it's just like a really destructive process in the end, because you are convincing yourself of all of these things, therefore they're coming true, therefore the convictions are becoming stronger, and you become more and more convinced that you are special and that you are the exception, when, my love, you are not the exception. So all of this to say, it's interesting to point out the problem. And you know what, when I was actually doing my research on this video, I was trying to see like the psychology behind it. So I was like typing in like this exact issue, and I couldn't really find anything on it, on, you know, seeing yourself as the exception in a negative way. The things that I was mostly coming across are examples of when people see themselves in a negative way, but in like a good way, when like, oh, I'm special, I'm like, people have the tendency, for instance, to believe that they are above average. Like, if you ask the average person, are you above average, like most of them are gonna say yes, which obviously isn't true, because then it wouldn't be an average. But so yeah, a lot of the psychology things and articles and stuff I was coming across were talking about seeing yourself as the exception in a positive way, which is very interesting. That's how you get like narcissists and whatnot, although obviously that doesn't always lead to narcissism. But I couldn't really find the reverse of seeing yourself as the exception, but in a negative way. Like, only me will not be able to accomplish this. Only me does not deserve this. I couldn't really find anything on that. And I don't know. It was a cursory kind of search. I didn't like look for a ton of time, so take that with a grain of salt. But one thing that I read that a psychologist said, I don't even know who it was. They said, see yourself the way other people see you, not the way you see yourself, right? Because going back to what I think I said, like, if you look around at people around you, like, you never hold these exceptions for them. Like, if you look at your friend, you're never going to be like, oh, you're never going to be loved. No one's going to love you. And yeah, everyone else in the world is deserving of friendship except you. Like, everyone else in the world, you know, should have this opportunity to go here or to do this or to work there except you. You would never say that to your friend. You would probably never even say that to a stranger. Because what? Like, you don't believe that, like, if you're a decent person. And so I think one way to get over these kinds of thoughts is to actually get out of your head. Get out of your head and get into other people's heads. But you have to be kind of careful when you do this, because if you start getting out of your head and listening to people who don't give a damn about you and who like hate you and dislike you, you're just going to make the problem worse, because you're going to be listening to people who are like, yeah, you're a trash person, you're terrible, yeah, you're right, and they're just going to be reinforcing all of these negative things in your head. But with this, obviously we all have things that we can fix in our lives. So maybe if you really feel to yourself like, oh my gosh, like, I am literally never deserving of love, like, I'm not. Why are you feeling that way? Because maybe you are doing something that you really shouldn't be doing, right? Maybe you don't listen to people when they speak. Maybe you have selfish tendencies. And yeah, those things need to be fixed. We're always trying to improve as human beings. Yeah, you should probably deal with those issues if you want your relationships to work out well. But just because you're not perfect doesn't mean that you're not deserving of something. So I think, as I was trying to say, go to people who care about you and who actually know you, people who you trust, whether that be your close friends, whether that be your parents, you know, whether that be another family member. I don't care who it is. But someone you trust, someone who actually has your best interest at heart, and literally ask them, do you think that I am deserving of love? Do you think that I could never do XYZ? Do you, like, ask them and hear what they have to say. And a lot of the time, they'll be like, what the, like, what are you on? Of course you are deserving of this. Of course you can do that. Like, everyone can do it. Everyone deserves it. And so do you. Like, and if there are things that you can do to improve as a person, you know, you can tell this person, well, I'm feeling like, you know, I don't. And perhaps they can tell you, helicopter. Perhaps they can tell you, you know, ways that, oh, you could be a better communicator here, you know, you could listen to people more there, and you can always improve. But it doesn't have to be because I need to improve, I'm horrendous, I'm horrible, I'm a disgrace to society. No. And yeah, I've said a lot. Another way I think that, you know, you can kind of get over this mindset is, it sounds cheesy because it kind of is, well, I don't know. It's true. Positive self-talk, positive affirmations. If the thought comes into your head, oh, I don't deserve love in my entire life because I'm a horrible, unlikable piece of garbage, then you can literally choose to say to yourself, no, I'm not. I deserve love just like everyone else. I'm not special. I'm not the exception. Like, when the thought comes into your head, only I can't, or it's true for everyone except me, and these like intrusive thoughts or thoughts come into your head, you can literally say, no, like, I'm not special. You are not special. That's empowering. Like, that's low-key empowering that you are not special. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm gonna take that, because I thought about that. I just kind of thought about this while I'm speaking about it. Like, you're not special. Like, slay. Like, I'm like everyone else. That's low-key kind of cool. Anyway, so yeah, talk to the people that you love. Talk to yourself kindly. you know, write little notes for yourself, like, I'm deserving of love. Like, you can say it's corny, you can say cheesy, journal, like, I don't know, do what you need to do. Just realize that we are all people. Like, we are all just human beings. Everyone else who you think can do something or deserve something, they're a human being just like you, right? We are all human beings just trying to live life and have a good time. So anyway, that is kind of like all I have to say on this topic. I feel as though that I have barely crocheted anything. I think that actually whenever I'm crocheting, my speech kind of slows down and my brain slows down due to the multitasking. So that's probably why I didn't crochet much. But we have this little square. I'm making it, like I said, a little charity project. There is this charity called Knit a Square, and it is based in South Africa. So if you crochet a little square that is 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters, they have all the instructions on their website. Then you can make squares and you can send them, and they use these squares, either crocheted, knit, woven, whatever you want, to make blankets for orphans. I think it's a really great cause, and you know, I'd love to see more people contribute to this charity. It's a nice way to use your craft, something that you already like doing, to help other people if that's something that you're interested in. I hope that this video has been somewhat interesting, and I hope to see you in the next video. If you like this video, please like. If you want to see more of my videos, subscribe. I have other videos besides this podcast. And remember, you are not special. Love you.